The more academic the program, the less about medicine they will ask you. Your scores and publications will give you the shot. But once you have the shot, it's all about who are yourself. Everything we do before actually showing up to a rotation or to application season, only giving us the shot. The moment that you present yourself, that will have a huge repercussion on your actual chances to match. I do marathons and triathlons, and I am also a guide runner for blind athletes. That was the moment that I realized that it was feasible. That was the rotation that showed me what really realistically surgery in the US was, and that showed me at least that I wanted to train here. They don't really care about how good of a surgeon you are already, because residency is for that. They want somebody that is teachable. This whole process is so overwhelming that you really, literally, you have to take one step at a time. This is a very long journey. It's a demanding one. It's time consuming, but it is very, very rewarding at the end.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to one more episode of MetaCast, the podcast of the Meta-Analysis Academy. Today, I'm super excited to share this interview with Rodrigo Calmet. He just matched into surgery, categorical, at FIU. In Miami, Baptist Health, really great program, categorical, as an IMG from Peru. So he's going to share all of that with us. It's going to be an amazing episode. You're going to learn a lot about, the rotations, the scores, the research, the connections, the network, everything you need to do to build such an amazing result. Super competitive specialty, great program in Miami. Rodrigo, thank you for joining MetaCast.
No, thank you so much for the invitation. I am super happy to be here. And yeah, of course, I will be more than happy to share all the things that I have learned so far within this process.
Fantastic. Before I transition over to you for an introduction and your background as marathon runner, Drew is going to tell us all about that. I want to remind everyone that the Meta-Analysis Academy and MetaCast are not affiliated with the institutions that we mentioned, FIU and Harvard, where I work, and all these different institutions. The opinions here are our own exclusively. I also want to remind you to join the waitlist of the Meta-Analysis Academy to learn how to publish really strong papers. Rodrigo is a former student. It's really helped him to get that surgery match. So make sure to join our waitlist. Check out the Meta-Analysis Academy. So Rodrigo, let's start with background. Where are you from? Like your upbringing, your medical school years. Like what was the let's go back to the origins.
Of course. So, well, I am originally from Lima, Peru. My mother is from the north part. My father is from the south part, but I am originally from Lima, which is the capital. So actually, when I decided to go into medical school, I tried to specifically avoid the OR because my father is a surgeon, so I didn't want to bias my specialty selection. But when we had our fourth year proper surgical rotation, I knew that was going to be kind of a huge part of my life because, of course, I wanted to be a surgeon. That was the moment I realized it. But at that time as well, I knew, well, at least the surgery that we were seeing, which is, at least my hospital was a major center, was not the real state-of-the-art surgery that we were learning on the classrooms. And of course, it was not about the people, but about the resources that the hospital has. So at that time, I talked about training in Peru, but at least I wanted to see how surgery was performed in the US. And it was a very difficult time to get rotations here because it was the middle of the pandemic. So we can speak a little bit more about that later, I guess. But I did several rotations across the US, despite it was a very difficult time to get them.
Really?
And
I mean, it's impressive that you got those rotations at that time.
Exactly.
Like, where were these rotations?
So a couple of them were in the south part of Texas in one city called McAllen.
Oh, yeah.
Which had a Peruvian cardiologist there, actually. And he was one of the partners of the hospital. So he was super helpful for us to get rotations. Of course, you had to accomplish several requirements within our medical school, kind of be in the, top 15 of the class or something like that, in order for him to help you. But he was super helpful and he got us rotations in whatever specialty that we want.
Yeah.
And then via my university president, not even my dean, the president, he was a surgeon at that time because they already changed him. kind of because of the period ended, not because something happened or something. But at that time, he was a surgeon, so he was very well connected, and he connected me with one vascular surgeon in Arizona. He was one faculty member of University of Arizona, actually. And then via one graduate from my med school, but a long time ago, I ended up having one rotation in Miami as well, which was the rotation that actually showed me what really realistically surgery in the US was, and was a rotation that showed me at least that I wanted to train here. So I really didn't build a CV towards a US residency application, but after that moment, so
those rotations clicked for you that
exactly.
you wanted to stay in the US.
And at that time, I was a 6-year medical student, and we studied for 7 years. So I was late.
Yeah.
So
especially for surgery, it's super competitive.
Exactly.
And you knew at that point you wanted to do surgery.
Yes. Surgery was
always
exactly, was not in doubt since 4th year of med school. But the place where I wanted to train was a little bit, I was thinking about it until 6th year, yeah.
Okay, so at that moment, 6-year medical student, you decide you want to do surgery in the US. I mean, you quickly realized, I presume, how difficult that was.
Exactly,
what were your thoughts about that? How did you approach that, I guess, is the question. Were you enthusiastic, I'm going to overcome this, or you were really worried? How did you think about it? I'm trying to get into your mindset at that time.
Yeah, so if I remember very well, what I was thinking as a 6-year med student is that I wanted to train here, but first I wanted to convert myself into the 7-year medical student in Peru. It's called the intern. I know here is the PEY1, but at least in Peru, the intern is the final year med student.
In Brazil, it's the same, the last 2 years.
And when I was in 2nd, 3rd year of medical school, I looked at them and they were insanely independent. And I wanted to be the same within surgery. I wanted to be as helpful as possible within the emergency room, which is usually run by the PEY1 there. So for me, it was, let's see if this is feasible. I am going to start working towards my application, getting involved in some research and stuff like that. But I didn't want to lose that internship experience, at least to expose myself to surgery in my country in one huge academic center. So I did several volunteer kind of within on-call shift during the nights. So I was not really dedicated to studying for the USMLEs, but after that. So I finished the internship, I finished med school, and then the Peruvian Navy came. I was also working as a teaching assistant at that time within my medical school. But I started working as a very primary care physician at the Peruvian Navy in the Naval Academy. And that was the moment I started studying for the USMLEs, because for me, that was mandatory. I mean, I was not even thinking about postdoctoral research fellowships or getting involved in more complex research before taking the test. For me, the tests were primary. And right now that step 1 is pass fail, and step 2 is the one that kind of, I wouldn't say mandates your possibilities to match, but they are super important. They can definitely destroy your application.
Right.
I wanted to make sure that I was going to perform well before getting involved even deeper within this journey.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I did very well on step 2 after taking step 1.
Okay.
And that was the moment that I realized that it was feasible.
So I just wanted to, I didn't mean to interrupt you, sorry,
Yeah.
but in terms of step 2 score, when you say very well for surgery, just to get a sense, what score are we talking about? Above 250, above 260? What would you recommend for folks?
So
in general,
I would say about 250 to 55, you are perfectly fine. So programs know you're a good student already, because as we are going to talk probably in the next minutes, the match really depends on other things around that.
Yeah.
But you have to be good. And in order to prove that you are good, at least academically, the step 2 score is the one that tells that.
Yeah, that's a great point. You guys don't want to do poorly on step 2. That can filter you out. But certainly just having a step 2 score that's very high is not enough for you to get matched into general surgery or other specialties. So you have to,
of course,
have a well-balanced application. You have to have the research and the step scores and all of that.
Yes, absolutely.
So how long did you take for step 1 then step 2?
Approximately 1 year for both.
For doing both or 1 year each?
No, 1 year both.
Oh, you finished both in 1 year?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it was not from January to December, but yeah, I would say 1 year and 3 months.
That's pretty quick. That's really good. And you did well in step 2, you said. And then you said it was at that moment that you realized, well, I can do this. Is that it?
Yes. I mean, I was continuing kind of getting involved in research and looking for opportunities to after taking step 2. So it was not really about kind of, I will take step 2 and then I will figure it out. I was strongly thinking about the US. And for me, if you kind of, this whole process is so overwhelming that you really, literally, you have to take one step at a time. I mean, you have to worry about step 1 first, and then worry about step 2, and then worry about OET. But at the same time, you cannot forget everything that it's involved. But I would strongly suggest for you to take it literally one step at a time, because the process is so overwhelming. If you're, for example, let's say that you are starting for step 2 and you are worried about the personal statement and the letters of recommendation already and the rotations that you didn't have, it can become very overwhelming. So yes, I mean, I was waiting for me to get my step 2 results and then go even deeper on the process, which fortunately went well for me.
Nice. Very good. And by the way, what year was this? Like how long ago?
I took step 2 at the end of 2024.
Okay, so relatively recently. So we're now recording this in May 2026. And so when did you really start doing a deep dive into the research component? And let's start with that, and then I'll ask you more questions.
So actually, it was because of the academy.
Oh, nice.
I mean, while I was studying for step 2, I remember nobody's perfect. I sometimes scroll at Instagram or do something similar in other social media stuff. So when I was taking my little breaks of step 2 studying, between patients actually of the Peruvian IMG, I learned about the Meta-Analysis Academy, and I got enrolled before taking the test and started the course, I believe immediately after or something like that. But I remember kind of the timeline to be similar to what I have just said. And yeah, the independency that you can get within the academy, and thankfully I got enrolled into the experts program, so I was paired with a general surgery mentor.
Oh yeah, we should mention him, Sergio Mazzola.
Yeah, thank you.
A legend.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mazzola. Yeah, we actually created a group and we started working towards projects. Half of them, his ideas, we could share some of our ideas as well. So it is actually a very good group of people that is working towards actually very important papers. So that was the moment that I realized that I could actually build a very strong CV with independency. So I'm super grateful.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we were discussing before, this kind of really gives you the shot, but doesn't guarantee for you to kind of finally match.
Of course, yeah. It's not just about the research. I always tell our students that you have to build this well-balanced application. But I'm really glad you mentioned the question of autonomy. I just want to explain to people what that means. Autonomy doesn't mean you do it alone. Like Rodrigo worked with Dr. Mazzola and then other folks that he met in the Meta-Analysis Academy. They formed a great research group. But what autonomy means is you don't depend on your institution, your local data, your ethics committee. You don't have to recruit patients because you're doing meta-analysis with data from all over the world, from the US, from Germany, from the United Kingdom, from Canada, all over. And when you learn how to do that, you can leverage time because you can do it quite fast. It doesn't take you a year like it does to do a clinical trial or cohorts. You can leverage time. You can leverage connections. Rodrigo is going to tell us about how he used that to connect with other people. It helps you get impact too, because you can publish in really great journals. One of our students just published in JAMA Surgery, for example. So you can do all those things when you learn meta-analysis. Rodrigo is a superstar, a former student of the program who's done really well and now matched in general surgery. So Rodrigo, what about the actual publications that you had? Like, do you have one or two good papers that come to mind, like that you've done through these connections, these collaborations in the academy?
Yes, I would say the first couple of papers that we published already were related to hernias, because I mean, the group was interested in general surgery itself, but Dr. Mazzola, it's a very important figure within the abdominal wall reconstruction world.
By the way, we should mention he's an abdominal wall surgeon in North Carolina now. He trained in really great places, and now he's in North Carolina.
So I would say that kind of since we started working in the hernia field, a couple of our papers, one of them is, for example, comparing the follow-up of patients that underwent uncomplicated inguinal hernia surgery, how really important is kind of to see them in person versus just following up telephonically or virtually, kind of transitionally, clinically to our practice. That would mean that there are some patients that doesn't really have to kind of do all the way from home to the hospital if they are doing good, So, for example, we found out that the complications were not increased if we are just following them, not really in person. So that's important, and that kind of guides some institutions to maybe reframe how they are approaching the follow-up of those patients. So that's important. I would say we also did a paper on approach, because that's also something that you can compare within a meta-analysis, the robotic approach versus laparoscopic one for several procedures. Actually, we did one for bilateral inguinal hernia repair to see if some of the complications increases or no. So yeah, I those are the two that comes immediately to my mind right now. And yeah, I mean, we learned a lot, not only about the development of the meta-analysis itself, but during the journey of doing that, you learn a lot about the field. You really
you become an expert too.
Exactly. I wouldn't say an expert yet.
You become very knowledgeable.
But you became very knowledgeable.
Yeah, this is an important point. Rodrigo has really strong papers, and he's not even a surgeon yet. He's interested in surgery, but you can be a medical student, a recent graduate, and you can publish papers at the top of your field, the best journals in the world in cardiology, surgery, ophthalmology, because you will become knowledgeable as you do the research, in that topic.
Yes, exactly, because you cannot literally do a meta-analysis if you're not reviewing
the papers,
most of the papers. So yes.
In fact, that's one of the most common reasons why people fail in trying to do meta-analysis, is because they don't do a deep dive enough on that field and knowing what papers are published and all of that. Rodrigo, let's talk about the connections, because I remember a few weeks ago we were talking and you said that you did rotations in Miami and you really impressed the people there. So you did that first set of rotations when you were in medical school, you just told us, in Texas and other places. What about fast forward now to the time closer to your application? Did you do more rotations? Tell us about the rotations in Miami.
So yes. So after I took step 2, and well, actually, I believe I already finished the course by that time. I applied for several rotations in Miami, in Florida in general, because for me, one of the most important things was to be only one flight away from home.
Yeah.
So for me, Florida was the perfect place, and also I had a really strong connection with the program that actually ended matching me, because that was probably one of the main reasons why I ended up wanting surgery in the US in the first place. So I did a couple extra rotations in Jackson Memorial Hospital within the HPV hepatobiliary department, and also the colorectal surgery department as well. Then I did one extra rotation in surgical oncology in Mount Sinai and one other rotation in actually my program, which is the FIU Baptist Health in minimal invasive and bariatrics.
Nice.
So because I believe while you are a medical student, you can show yourself as a very good student, but it's a completely different experience when you are a graduate already, a recent graduate, because I was a recent graduate.
Yeah.
Because you are already presenting patients, you are already developing a possible plan for the patients, because of course you are not really taking care of the patients, but you can propose what would you do in some cases. So I think that experience, it's important, but for me, at least in my personal opinion and experience, you should do that after you are ECFMG certified, because you are not joking now. You are already applying. You have to express. I would say to if you right now, we are in May already, so the applications starts at September. So if you're doing away rotations right now, you are expected to show yourself. And if you're already ECFMG certified, that means that you're applying.
Yeah.
So
people take you more seriously.
Exactly. They are going to take you more seriously. That's right. So I believe that was a very good timing, because this time of the year, last year, I was still doing rotations.
Did you use research to impress people in your rotations?
Yes. So, for example, it is usually very well perceived. If you, for example, see a case, you can research a little bit about that case and the management that they use for that case, and if there is a gap in the literature that you can address with a meta-analysis. Even if you end up not doing the meta-analysis, the fact that you can propose a project, whether you finish it or not, it's important, because that shows initiative. And I believe that it's something that became natural once you develop the abilities to do one project, because you're not really doing it to impress. You're just doing it because there is a gap in the literature,
because of the science. Yeah.
I believe you all the time have to have good intentions and be real. Kind of whenever someone kind of tries to create something just to maybe show that they are interesting or something like that, people can perceive that. At least I can perceive that. But I was genuinely kind of interested in addressing some gaps on the literature, and I could show that I had experience with meta-analysis and stuff like that. So that I don't know if that ended up pushing me towards my application. We will never know, but I like to think that it was like that. Yeah.
Nice. No, that's great. I agree with you. It's when you learn how to do meta-analysis and you can do it well, you can go and address important clinical gaps in the literature, surgical gaps too, and that it's a consequence that you would invite people to be collaborators.
Exactly.
Develop a strong network and all of that. In fact, I want to talk about the network, because right before we started the recording, you were telling about how the network's really important. And you mentioned Dr. Mazzola, you met people in Miami and other places in your career. How do you think this network was important for you when you applied, for you to get that match?
For me, I wouldn't use the word network, but I would use the relationships that you actually build with people.
Yeah, and the connections.
Kind of how they perceive you and how you perceive them, and the relationships that you can build in that time. So I would say that everything that we do before actually showing up to a rotation or to application season or to the match, it's only kind of giving us the shot to the application or to the match. But since the moment that you present yourself as a medical student, as a person, as a recent medical graduate, that will have a huge repercussion on your actual chances to match. And something that I have been asked a lot since the match that was recent is that, Rodrigo, for example, I have 2 years of graduation. 2 years. I graduated myself 2 years ago, and I have this score on step 2, and I pass step 1 within my first try, and I have this amount of publications. So I am going to match, and it is impossible for me to say that because you are making yourself a statistic. It's something that I was sharing to some of the people that I mentor now. Kind of you cannot reduce yourself to a statistic, to a person with a certain amount of papers or a certain amount of oral presentation, because that is not what program directors are, I would say, or in general people who are receiving the application wants. They want a person that is teachable in any specialty, and a good person and a good team member. But of course, your scores and the amount and the quality of your publications will give you the shot. But once you have the shot to show yourself, it's all about who are yourself.
Yeah.
And that is going to kind of get you matched.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a combination of things, and meeting the right people, doing the right rotations, doing the research. It's all of this serves as a gateway for you to enter or have an opportunity. And of course, you have to build it from there.
Of course.
Like you did your rotations. I'm sure you impressed people. You had the research, you impressed people, you get the letters of recommendation. What were the interviews like for general surgery? Like, how many did you have, and what was that process like? What were some key advice for people as they're interviewing for general surgery?
So, well, it was my first time applying. So, and actually, I didn't have that many interviews, but I knew that all of the interviews that I got were strongly considering me.
Okay.
Kind of, I like maybe to think that, but
it's true. I'm sure it's true. You matched.
but yeah, that's how I felt. And the interviews would vary a lot regarding kind of the programs. Maybe controversially, or maybe you wouldn't think about it this way, but the more academic the program, the less about medicine they will ask you.
Yeah.
And the more community the program, the more medicine will ask you. I have been asked a lot about medicine in community programs, and it is understandable because they manage a different amount of population, different kind of population.
It's all about the clinical work.
Exactly. So it is important for them to know that you have the clinical experience already. So I have been, and in that moment, for example, you could be approached by 3 residents and the program director, and all of them asking you about medicine, and it can be an overwhelming situation. But of course, if you have been well prepared, you're going to be fine. And in some, for example, academic institutions, they won't maybe ask you anything related to medicine. I do marathons and triathlons, and I am also a guide runner for blind athletes. I don't call them blind athletes. I call them my friends because they are my friends already. But I have some of the most meaningful medals that I have. I put them in the background of my my interviews.
Wow, that's really cool.
So for example, I remember very well an interview in an academic center that was not kind of, medicine was not even involved in the interview. We were all the time speaking about the medals and the history behind every one of the medals.
Nice.
And everything. So I would say that it's really an opportunity for you to show who you are and show that you are a very good team member, a person that is teachable, because at least in surgery, they don't really, or what from my personal experience, what I would say is that they don't really care about how good of a surgeon you are already, because residency is for that. They are going to teach you how to operate and do surgery, but they want somebody that is teachable. That's probably the most important thing. And general surgery, it's I would say it has a lot of hours of work, so you have to be a team member for sure. So I would say those components are the most important ones that they are taking into consideration. And they will try to approach those qualities of you within the interview via several ways.
Yeah. they want to get to know you truly on those interviews, not just because they can look at your CV and know where you went to medical school and the papers you've published. And the step scores will give a good sense of how much you know from a theoretical standpoint. The letters will mention your clinical work, but people want to get to know you on those interviews. The other thing I would add to that is don't be shy to mention where you want to go in your career. Like if you want to do general surgeon, then do a subspecialty. Or if you want to do internal medicine and then do cardiology. If you want to become an academic person, like be very specific about your goals and ambitious, you can mention that on those interviews.
Exactly. And if that program in particular don't really rank you well, you will never know. But I was told before by one of my mentors that if you don't get a position, it's not that you are not good enough. It's probably you are not the right fit. So that won't really tell anything about yourself and your clinical abilities and judgment or how good physician you are. But it's more about what they are looking for and what are you looking for. So it's really literally a match.
Yeah, and there's some randomness in the process.
Yes, of course.
There's a lot of that. Very good. How was that feeling, on that Monday to get the email and say you matched into general surgery categorical? What was that like?
So thankfully, I had the opportunity to be with my mother here in Boston.
Oh, nice.
So
she was visiting.
Yeah, she was visiting. So I took a moment for myself to really one of the defects that I have, and I am mentioning this because it is something that actually also was mentioned during interviews, is that since I was taking one step at a time, literally as I was mentioning before, I didn't even celebrate the step one. It was for me, I took step one, I passed.
Next.
Okay, exactly, next. Then step two. Then at the second I received the step two score, it was like, how on earth I didn't got 1 or 2 extra points. And then I was thinking about OET, so I wasn't really acknowledging my journey and celebrating
the milestones.
The milestones, which are very important.
Yeah.
So I am mentioning this because I really took a moment to be grateful for the whole process and I mentioned that during interview season as well. I mean, I was really happy to be interviewing. For me, it was a blessing. And I know that people from South America and IMGs in general that are trying to pursue this career will feel that gratefulness as well in whichever time, because you have been through a lot. I mean, after finishing med school or during med school, taking the USMLE and everything, it's really a very difficult and long journey, but it's a very rewarding one. So I took a decent 5 minutes to be grateful, to thank God, to thank my family in silence before opening the email. Yeah. And then, of course, I was screaming like I couldn't even imagine me matching, 3 to 4 years ago.
They could hear you.
So exactly.
From Lima.
So my mother came, she hugged me, we shared a very special moment. And I have a funny story about that actually, because you know that when you receive the email, if you got a preliminary spot, you receive a email saying that you matched into a preliminary position for 1 year or something like that. Yeah. I didn't know that. I thought that either you are matched or you are not matched, and the fact that we are prelims or not was revealed on Friday. And one of my co-fellows here at Boston told me, so tell me the good news. And I sent him a picture, and he told me, dude, we are categorical, because he matched as well. And we are categorical. And I was like, no, we're not. I asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT told me that the final revelation will be on Friday. And he was like, no, dude, you match categorical. I was, no, don't joke with me like that. Because I remember being in the phone with my family and saying, kind of, this guy is telling me that I am categorical, but I am not believing him until Friday. But yeah, it ended up well.
So those of you who don't know about categorical versus prelim, categorical is the full general surgery residency. Prelim is where you do 1 year, and then you can potentially have a position later on or reapply, or you're not guaranteed to continue in your general surgery residency. So that's why it's it's a huge deal to get a categorical position.
And it is statistically more difficult to get a categorical one rather
for
than
sure.
a prelim one.
Because a prelim doesn't guarantee you the full residency. Rodrigo, that's incredible. Congratulations again. I'm really proud of you. And I'm really also proud to have you as a Meta-Analysis Academy alum, like a former student. You've done incredibly well. I want to again emphasize Sergio Mazzola as an expert. He's incredible. He's published over 30 papers at this point, I'm quite sure, with our students. He's a great mentor to many. And I want to ask you, as we wrap up, like hobbies, you already talked about running. Tell us a little bit more about that. Like when did you start, and how it helps you, and also stay focused in medicine. Just give us a sense of like what you do as your hobbies or what you do outside of medicine and surgery.
Of course. So, I have been a former swimmer my entire life.
Nice.
I swam competitively during my whole high school. I was swimming in medical school during some time, but logistically, at some point, it became impossible because with rotations, finding a pool that opens at 4:35 a.m., it's virtually impossible. So because it was not really feasible to continue swimming, I started running. And actually, the year that I ran the most was my internship year, my final year of med school, because I was getting a little bit crazy with seeing the same faces, the same patients, the same walls every day, which I loved. But of course, everyone who is in medicine will understand this.
Yeah.
So I started I started running a little bit more during that year, very early in the morning. I would wake up at 4:10 a.m. and I would run from 4:15 to 5:15 so I can be showering around 5:30, and before 6, I was already in the hospital.
Wow.
And that for 1 year. And that showed me also that I could handle the physical demands of general surgery residency. I was able to do it.
Yeah.
So at that time, running became a huge part of me. And then triathlons came as well, and everything related to endurance sports, which really teach you a lot about life itself. And yeah, something that I was mentioning recently, so to some of the students that I talk with, is that it's really a measurement of how disciplined you are, because you can say, yeah, I'm a very disciplined person, but you can actually show it in an interview, for example, let's say.
Metrics.
Exactly, metrics. If you tell me I run, but I run sporadically a 5K during the weekend, well, I believe, of course, you're above average and that's great, but that's not the same as saying that you're a marathon runner with several sub 3-hour marathons. That's an actual measurement of not only discipline, but grit, which is something super important. I wouldn't say only on general surgery, but in residency in general, because you have to be disciplined.
Yeah,
there's no other way. And also, sports hasn't not only kind of be a part of my life within that standpoint, but also one friend of me and myself created a community down there in Lima called Médicos Deportistas del Perú, which kind of promoted the physicians that were already very involved in sports. For example, we had a friend that was a PGY 5 in neurosurgery, and he was actually a winner of one of the Ironman 70.3s.
Oh.
So that's insane. How do you can handle
neurosurgery
residency with that? So that was the kind of people that we wanted to promote via social media. And we started like that, and we ended up being called by the Peruvian College of Physicians to start creating races and promoting little 5Ks on the Sundays for the physicians. So it was a really nice experience related to sports as well, that also showed that we could be very good leaders, that it's something very important for us as well as residents.
Incredible, Rodrigo. I mean, you've done so well. You mentioned the resilience, the grit, the dedication, perseverance. I want to ask you about your time in the Navy. Do you think that also contributed to all these characteristics, this character?
Of course. And I would say that functions bilaterally. I mean, if you, let's say that you're a naval cadet and you go to your doctor, which in this particular case was me, And I could tell from experience, kind of, I have done marathons, some. Like I have done Ironman 70.3. You're telling me that your shin is hurting? I know, kind of. And I can tell if with this MRN, if with this MRI, you're having a stress fracture or only a periostitis, for example, or a tibial medial stress syndrome. So that is something that certainly helped me during my time in the Navy.
Like, stop complaining, get back to work.
Which is something that people within the military values a lot, because you cannot have a physician that doesn't really have an idea of what their patients are going through.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's important. But also, it is funny because I remember a lot of things about my time in the Navy, but I believe the first half of the year that I was there, I didn't really even knew the personnel that worked with me, because I was so focused in the studying for step 1 between patients that I didn't even leave kind of the room where I saw the patients, because I was doing either Anki or UWorld or reading the first aid. And then after I took step 1, I was already kind of being friends with all the guys that helped me a lot. A huge shout out to them. And yeah, of course, you have to. I wouldn't say that I built discipline during my time in the Navy. I was already a marathon runner at that time. So I would say that the fact that I was very involved in the endurance sports helped me within my naval year. But also, what I have seen there in the cadets, in the personnel, how disciplined and organized they were, certainly helped me as well in silence.
Yeah. Amazing story, Rodrigo. Congratulations. I'm really excited for the next steps in your career. Again, as I said, I'm really proud to have you as a student of the Meta-Analysis Academy. I want to encourage everyone to follow Rodrigo on social media. How can they find you on Instagram, Rodrigo?
Oh, yeah. So my Instagram account would be at Rodrigo 0508.
We'll put it in with the video.
Yeah,
we'll put it in the
little
video.
space Calmet. But yeah, feel free to reach, guys. I have a recently added link tree with some free guides and resources that you can use. So feel free to reach again.
Fantastic. Also, make sure to check the other social media of Meta-Analysis Academy. We're on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to our channel. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter, on X. So make sure to follow us there as well. Watch the other episodes of MetaCast. Before Rodrigo, I spoke with a radiology resident at Harvard. Really great success stories of people that you can learn discipline, grit, studying for the steps, and doing research, publishing in great journals, making great connections, all the things that you need in your career. I want to congratulate Rodrigo again, and thank you for your time here and sharing your story in MetaCast.
No, thank you so much, Dr. Cardoso, for the invitation. And again, guys, this is a very long journey. It's a demanding one. It's time consuming, but it is very, very rewarding at the end. And please, I know it's a super overwhelming process. Take it one step at a time. Complete your exams, get you certified, get involved in research as much as you can during that process, but really take one step at a time, because otherwise you will implode. So literally, I'm joking a little bit, but really that would be my advice. And the other advice that I would say is that don't make a statistic about yourself, because you are not a statistic, you're a person. And what you want to do is, with your statistics, get a shot for you to show you as a person, but don't really forget that.
And join the Meta-Analysis Academy.
Yeah.
Waitlist. Yeah, that's one way that you can do a lot of great research. Rodrigo, thank you very much. Congratulations, my friend. Well done.